Chosen one, this month is not just another page on the calendar. It is a divine intermission, a sacred recalibration, a spiritual retreat that happens not in the mountains or in the silence of nature, but within the temple of your own body. You are being summoned, not by noise or urgency, but by a whisper from deep within. A whisper that says, "Come home," not to pleasure, but to power. Not to indulgence, but to intention. This is your month of semen retention and total abstinence. Not out of denial or fear, but out of the holy recognition that your energy is far too precious to be wasted. This pause is not passive. It is not idle waiting. It is an active honoring of the divine force that lives inside you. The same force that builds kingdoms, births ideas, crafts vision, and breathes life into still places. You are no longer releasing your seed as a reflex to boredom or anxiety or hunger for connection. You are not handing over your power in moments of weakness. This month you are reclaiming what has always been yours, the raw creative force that was never meant to be thrown to the winds of whim, but harnessed, gathered, and refined like gold from fire. And yes, it will be difficult. Yes, the body will protest. Yes, the mind will wander. But these are the signs of transformation, not weakness. You are not starving the body. You are feeding the soul. And in the absence of indulgence, you will feel the presence of your true self, clearer, louder, closer. You will begin to see how much time, how much mental bandwidth, how much sacred focus was given to chasing temporary highs. And in that realization, you will feel a power rise, a power not of ego, but of truth. There is nothing ordinary about what you're doing. In a world where urges are obeyed without question, you have become the one who pauses, who questions, who reclaims. The world calls it strange. Heaven calls it sacred. And as you enter this month of the deep retention and complete abstinence, know this: you are not withholding pleasure. You are awakening presence. You are not avoiding connection. You are deepening communion with the part of yourself that speaks in silence and leads with stillness. Chosen one, welcome to the sacred pause. This is your initiation into a new rhythm, one not governed by impulse but by intent. This is the fire that will refine you, the silence that will ground you, the mirror that will show you not who you've been, but who you were always meant to be. Chosen one, you are now walking into the training ground of the unseen. This month will not be defined by external achievement or public praise. It will be forged in the still moments. In the choices no one sees. In the wrestle between impulse and intention. This is the place where inner strength is no longer an idea. It becomes a living reality. The strength you are cultivating is not for the weak-hearted. It is not for those who chase the path of least resistance. It is for those willing to burn off distraction to uncover discipline. And you have accepted that challenge. Inner strength begins when you no longer see yourself as a slave to your biology. It begins the moment you realize that your sexual energy is not a curse, not a shameful burden, not something to be tamed or hidden. It is divine fuel. It is a holy fire. And fire, when not governed, burns through everything. But when mastered, it forges steel. Your abstinence is not weakness. It is spiritual weightlifting. Each moment you choose restraint over release, silence over indulgence, breath over reaction, you are building a man no one can shake. This month, your emotions may stir. Desires may scream. Your body may ache. But these are not enemies. They are invitations. Invitations to look deeper, to ask questions, to refine your awareness. Why does your body react the way it does? What memory are you trying to suppress through pleasure? What loneliness are you trying to escape? When you face these questions without reaching for a temporary fix, you grow roots. You stop running from discomfort and start turning it into data, into direction, into depth. And this strength you're building, it begins to reflect outward. You'll notice it in your voice, calmer, slower, more certain. In your posture, more grounded, less hurried. In your presence, heavier, richer, unmistakably magnetic. Not because you're trying to impress, but because your energy no longer leaks, it accumulates. People will feel it before they can name it. And you will feel it too, in your dreams, in your decisions, in the mirror, where the man looking back at you no longer lives at the mercy of his urges, but commands his life with clarity. Chosen one, your strength is not just in holding back. It is in what you're building, in the space that opens when you stop giving yourself away. You're no longer just a man with potential. You are a man in preparation. And every day you hold the line, every night you breathe through the urge, every morning you wake up with your power intact. You are becoming stronger than the man you were yesterday, not in muscle alone, but in mind, in mastery, in meaning. This is what true strength looks like. Not the roar of bravado, but the stillness of a man who knows he is sovereign. Not the grip of control, but the release of compulsion. Not the fear of failure, but the devotion to growth. This is the month you become unshakable. This is the month you begin to lead your body, not be led by it. This is the month you step out of survival and into spiritual sovereignty. And from that place, chosen one, the world begins to respond, not to your image, but to your integrity. Chosen one, the discipline you've embraced is beginning to till the soil of your inner world. In the first days of this sacred month, you may have felt it as restlessness, a pulling from your lower self, a tension in your body, a flood of memories, desires, and thoughts long buried beneath the easy escape of release. But stay with it. Stay rooted. For now, in the absence of that distraction, your mind begins to clear. There is something mysterious and powerful that happens when a man practices semen retention with intention. The mind, once fogged by endless cravings and mental static, begins to reveal its true shape. Your thoughts slow. Your focus sharpens. The background noise of scattered desires begins to fade like a signal losing its interference. And what is left? Stillness, space, clarity. You will begin to notice things you used to miss. Conversations will feel richer. Words will carry more weight. You'll hear your own voice inside your thoughts again. Not the echo of culture, not the algorithm of your devices, but you. The real you. The one that has been buried under layers of overstimulation. This clarity is a sacred gift. It is the return of mental sovereignty, and it does not arrive by accident. It comes only when a man chooses to stop spending his essence on illusions and starts directing it inward to rebuild his consciousness. Without constant sexual release, your mind is no longer cycling between fantasy and frustration. It begins to settle. And when the mind settles, it opens. You'll find yourself thinking deeper, not wider. You'll find that you are no longer reacting but responding, no longer jumping from one thing to another but moving with purpose. This is because your brain is now supported by the internal power that you've been storing. It is being nourished, not depleted. Your nervous system begins to trust you again. Your instincts come alive. You see the patterns in your life, not with regret, but with revelation. This month, you are not simply practicing abstinence. You are reclaiming your mental kingdom. You are sweeping out the rooms of your own mind, clearing the dust of distraction, opening the windows of perception. You may find that you are more sensitive to noise, to shallow conversation, to anything that once numbed you. That's a good sign. It means your discernment is returning. It means your spirit is no longer content with surface-level consumption. It is hungry now for truth. And from that truth comes vision. Not vague hope, but sharp, detailed, focused vision. You'll begin to see not just what's in front of you, but where you are going. Ideas will form that once felt distant. Solutions to problems will rise without force. Your creativity will start to hum, not from pressure, but from internal overflow. You are clearing the channel between your spirit and your intellect, and in doing so, you become more than a thinker. You become a seer. Protect this clarity. Don't return to the fog just because it's familiar. You've come too far to go back to mental slavery. Let your thoughts stay clean by choosing clean input. Let your vision stay sharp by feeding it silence. Let your consciousness continue expanding, not by force, but by staying in the discipline that brought you here. The longer you hold your energy, the more your mind will reveal its power. Not because you've become someone new, but because you've finally removed what was always in the way. Chosen one, now that your body has begun to calm and your mind has started to clear, the sacred doorway opens. Not in the world, not on the screen, but within your own soul. This is the part of the journey few ever reach, not because they are incapable, but because they never stay silent long enough to listen. But you have stayed. You have chosen not to numb, not to chase, not to escape. And now your spirit begins to speak. This month of total abstinence is not simply about self-control. It is about reunion. A reunion with the part of you that existed before the noise, before the pressure, before the world taught you to measure your worth by your ability to perform or produce. There is a version of you, still alive beneath the surface, who is not desperate, who is not fragmented, who is not addicted to distraction. That version is your spiritual self, and it is calling you home. You will begin to notice this return not as a dramatic awakening, but as a subtle, holy unfolding. You will feel more still in your chest. Your breath will deepen without effort. Your emotions will begin to soften, not as a weakness, but as awareness expanding. You will see that your spiritual life was never meant to be an idea. It was meant to be a lived, daily connection with the source of your breath and the reason for your being. When you retain your seed, you preserve not just your energy, but your access point to divine wisdom. You are no longer draining the very life force that connects you to God. You are now cultivating it, growing it, letting it rise. And as it rises, so does your perception, so does your discernment, so does your hunger, not for pleasure, but for presence. You begin to crave stillness, to desire simplicity, to search for moments of sacred reflection rather than endless entertainment. You will begin to hear the voice that once seemed far away, the voice that speaks through instinct, through silence, through moments of deep peace. It will guide you in the smallest decisions. It will tell you when to act and when to wait. It will show you where your energy is welcomed and where it is being drained. This voice is not loud, but it is clear. It does not demand, but it does direct. And the more you stay in abstinence, the louder it becomes, not because it is shouting, but because you are finally quiet enough to hear. You may begin to notice divine alignment, encounters, signs, moments that seem too perfectly timed to be coincidence. That is not fantasy. That is your energy syncing with the rhythm of heaven. That is your soul remembering that it was never meant to live on edge. It was meant to live anchored in the eternal. And so, chosen one, return to your source. Not once, but daily. Return through prayer, through breath, through solitude, through silence. Let the sacred fire within you remain lit, not by external validation, but by internal consecration. You are becoming more than a man of discipline. You are becoming a man of spirit, and that spirit will carry you through storms, through seasons, through all the tests ahead. Stay close to this presence, because from here forward, it is not just your body you must protect, it is your connection. And in that connection, you will remember what was always true. You are not just withholding energy, you are walking with God. Chosen one, you have entered a rare state now. What you are doing, what you are holding, is not casual. It is sacred architecture being constructed within your body and your soul. Each day of semen retention and abstinence is not simply a day without release. It is a day of restoration, a day in which your system, once used to draining itself to momentary satisfaction, begins to retain, store, and transform the life force you once took for granted. Your energy reservoir is no longer leaking. It is deepening. It is filling slowly with quiet fire, with steady voltage, with sacred electricity that does not flash outward, but pulses inward. This reservoir is not like adrenaline. It doesn't rush. It builds. It gathers in the places that had grown hollow. It seeps into your breath, into your bones, into your voice. And people will feel it before they understand it. They will not know what to name it. They will call it intensity, or presence, or something about you. But it will not be something. It will be everything that you have been storing, guarding, and choosing not to waste. The body now, free from frequent depletion, enters a higher rhythm. Your posture straightens. Your chest opens without effort. You find yourself moving slower, not because you are tired, but because you are grounded. Your limbs are no longer fidgety. Your voice no longer searches for words. Your energy no longer scatters itself to seek approval. All of it now is yours again. You are fully home in your body for the first time in what may have been years. And this reservoir you are filling, this is not just physical stamina. This is creative fuel. This is the energy that paints, that builds, that leads, that heals. It is the energy that clarifies thoughts and deepens conversations. It is the quiet confidence behind a man who does not need to shout to be heard, who does not need to dominate a room to be recognized. You are becoming that man. The man who is full. Not full of ego, full of life, full of voltage, full of sacred power. You will begin to see that what once drained you was not just the act of release, but the invisible cost of constant stimulation. Every glance at something shallow, every indulgence in fantasy, every moment spent leaking your essence in pursuit of pleasure, that was water spilling from your well. And now, that well is being refilled. Chosen one, protect this reservoir. Do not pour it out to feel temporary connection. Do not waste it trying to prove yourself. Let it rise within you until it begins to overflow, not in lust, but in creative force. Use it to speak with clarity, to write with power, to lead with conviction, to serve with love. Use it to build the vision you keep seeing in your dreams, to finish the work you started years ago but lacked the energy to complete. This is not just energy to hold, it is energy to deploy with purpose. And the more you store, the more sacred your presence becomes. The more you walk into rooms with stillness, the more others begin to feel their own nervous systems slow down around you. Because your energy is not taking, it is offering. It is not looking, it is anchored. You are no longer leaking like most. You are no longer emptying for validation. You are holding your reservoir like a sacred chalice, and the world can sense that what you carry is rare. Let this month be the time your reservoir becomes your strength, not just for now, but as a lifestyle, because this energy is not for lust. It is for legacy. Chosen one, now that you are storing your energy and feeling the return of your power, a new kind of challenge will rise, not in the form of physical urges, but in emotional waves. The very act of abstaining will begin to stir deeper layers within you. And here's what most never understand. When you stop using release as a form of escape, your emotions begin to speak louder. Not because something is wrong, but because now they are finally being heard. There will be moments of agitation, moments when the silence feels sharp, moments when memories surface uninvited. You will feel things you thought you had long buried: grief, frustration, loneliness, anger, even the ache of past rejections. All of this is part of the process. You are not losing control. You are finally confronting what you once avoided. Retention reveals, abstinence unmasks, and in the space left behind by absence of constant pleasure, truth begins to rise. This is not punishment. This is purification. Your emotional body is not attacking you. It is clearing the fog. It is giving you a chance to feel clean again, not by suppressing your emotions, but by walking through them with full awareness and grounded breath. This is where emotional resilience is born, not in pretending that you are unaffected, but in facing the current and not drowning in it. You begin to learn the art of staying with discomfort, staying with uncertainty, staying with the pain that used to send you running for relief. And in that staying, something sacred happens. You stop breaking at every storm. You learn how to be with your own feelings without fearing them. You realize that pain does not own you, that loneliness cannot define you, that desire, however loud, does not control you. Your inner world becomes a place of rootedness. You start to trust yourself. Not because you always feel good, but because you no longer collapse when you don't. That, chosen one, is emotional power. You begin to engage with others differently too. You are no longer reactive. You no longer explode or retreat at the slightest trigger. You no longer look for someone else to hold what you haven't held within yourself. You become a safe space, not just for others, but for your own soul. And that safety becomes attractive, magnetic, even healing to those who cross your path. Not because you fix them, but because you've learned how to hold your own fire without letting it consume you. This resilience is not built through ease. It is forged in abstinence, in retention, in the sacred discipline of choosing to feel rather than flee. And the more you lean in, the more grounded you become. Your emotions no longer ride you, you ride them. Your past no longer controls you, you rewrite it. Your fears no longer imprison you, you face them without blinking. Chosen one, this emotional clarity, this spiritual spine that's forming inside you, is one of the rarest forms of power on this earth. Few have it, fewer hold it. But you are not here to follow the masses. You are here to become the man who can be fully present with every part of himself and still stand tall. Still love deeply. Still lead boldly. Let this be the month your emotions no longer frighten you. Let this be the season your strength is not defined by how much you suppress, but by how much you feel and still remain unbroken. Because your fire is not meant to be put out, it is meant to be mastered. And now you are learning to master the flame. Chosen one, now you are entering the heat of the furnace. This is where many turn back, where the fire of transformation becomes so intense it begins to burn away everything that is not true. You've walked for days with clarity, cultivated presence, rebuilt your reservoir, held your emotions. But now temptation comes, not in the form of evil, but in the form of something familiar, something comfortable, something pleasurable. And yet, beneath the surface of that pleasure hides the very thing you're trying to outgrow, the cycle. Temptation is not always a storm. Sometimes it's a whisper. Sometimes it's a memory, a flash of a past encounter, a sudden feeling in the body, a video thumbnail, a moment of boredom, a slow night, a silent morning. And there it is, calling your name, not as something foreign, but as something you once fed and gave permission to live inside you. And now, like an old ghost, it wants to come home. But you are not that man anymore. You do not answer the door just because someone knocks. You must understand this. Temptation doesn't come to shame you, it comes to reveal you. It shows you what parts of your discipline are rooted and what parts are still shallow. It shows you whether you're living from your spirit or from your memory. It shows you whether you've truly made the shift or whether you're just surviving through willpower. You cannot fake mastery in the presence of temptation. It exposes what's real. And that's why it's not an enemy. It is your mirror. And you, chosen one, must face that mirror with unwavering honesty. There will be days when the pull is strong, when your body feels heavy with desire, when your imagination begins to wander, when the moment feels too long and your mind starts negotiating, just once, just a little, just this time. These voices are not truth. They are the echoes of old agreements you made with weakness. They are the parts of you that don't want to die. And when you hear them, it is not the time to argue. It is the time to return to your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you holding your seed? Why are you abstaining from indulgence? Why did you choose to suffer in silence when the world offers so many easy exits? The answer is simple, though not always easy to hold. You chose this because you no longer want to live beneath your power. You chose this because you're tired of being emptied by moments that offer nothing in return. You chose this because your legacy cannot be built by leaking energy into the void. You chose this because you were born for more. And in those moments of temptation, when your body aches and your ego roars and your urges rise like a tide, you must remember, the fire will pass, but your decision will remain. Every time you choose restraint, you reinforce your kingdom. Every time you say no to the lesser, you prepare yourself for the greater. Every time you walk away from what once ruled you, you reclaim your throne. Do not fight temptation with fear. Do not pretend it isn't real. Acknowledge it, respect it, but do not kneel to it. You are not here to be a slave to your own chemistry. You are here to master your body, not be mastered by it. You are here to hold your fire, not to be consumed by it. And when you survive a wave of temptation, when you breathe through the tension and stand tall, something changes in you. Something evolves. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to believe your own strength. Chosen one, this is the test that builds the man you prayed to become. It is not designed to destroy you. It is designed to crown you. Stay steady. Stay sharp. And when the fire comes, let it burn. But let it burn the old you, not the one you're becoming. Chosen one, something subtle and powerful has begun to bloom inside you. It's not just the stillness you've grown accustomed to. It's not just the strength you've developed through discipline. It is a joy, not loud or boisterous, but deep, anchored, and quietly radiant. This is the joy of liberation. Liberation from what once owned you. Liberation from the cycles you believed you would never break. Liberation from needing a quick hit of pleasure to feel human. You have crossed into a rare freedom, and that freedom is not an escape, it is a return. There is a joy in not being mastered by lust. There is a joy in waking up and feeling clean in your mind. There is a joy in knowing that your body no longer dictates your behavior, that your lower self no longer calls the shots, that the man you once were has slowly been replaced by one who chooses with clarity instead of reacting from craving. Liberation is not always celebrated by the world. In fact, most will not understand it. They will ask why you restrain yourself. They will mock the silence you guard so carefully. They will question the value of your abstinence. But they don't understand what it feels like to look in the mirror and see a man who no longer compromises, a man who walks through temptation and keeps his crown, a man who doesn't need to numb himself because he is no longer afraid to feel. You now know that freedom is not doing what you want when you want. It's having the power to say no, even when everything in your body says yes. That's real liberation. That's joy with depth. Joy that doesn't vanish when the mood shifts. Joy that remains because it was built, not on indulgence, but on integrity. And this joy begins to ripple into every part of your life. Your interactions become lighter. Your words land deeper. Your eyes carry peace instead of hunger. You begin to notice beauty without needing to possess it. You begin to admire without the urge to conquer. You begin to walk through the world as a man who is already full. And people notice. They don't always know what they're seeing, but they feel the difference. Because a man who is free inside cannot help but radiate that freedom outside. This liberation also brings a strange kind of gratitude. Not because the path was easy, but because you now understand why it had to be hard. Every urge you resisted. Every night you sat with your breath instead of your screen. Every time you felt the ache of desire and still chose the higher road. It all led you here. To this place of quiet power. To this space where you can feel everything and still stand tall. To this moment where you realize you are not just surviving. You are alive with purpose. So walk in this joy. Protect it, guard it like a sacred flame, because the world will try to dim it. It will try to convince you that pleasure is joy, that indulgence is freedom. But you've walked the other side. You know the truth. You know that liberation doesn't come from surrendering to every urge. It comes from rising above them with grace. This joy is not for sale. It cannot be bought. It cannot be faked. It is earned through fire and carried in silence. You now wear it. Not as a medal, but as a fragrance. It follows you. It blesses others. It speaks when you say nothing. Chosen one, welcome to the other side of restraint. Welcome to the joy that comes when a man remembers that he is more than his body. You have walked through the desert and found water that never runs dry. This is your freedom, and no one can take it from you. Chosen one, you have walked through days and nights that many never will. You have faced your own mind in its rawest form. You have sat in silence with urges that once pulled you like gravity, and you did not bend. You did not break. You breathed. You endured. And now, as the horizon of this sacred month draws near, it is time, not to celebrate as one who has reached the end, but to reflect as one who has been transformed. This reflection is not a pat on the back. It is not a spiritual high five. It is a solemn, powerful inventory of your evolution. Look back, chosen one. Not to relive the struggle, but to measure the ground you've claimed from the darkness that once ruled you. There was a time not long ago when the pull of release was stronger than your reason, when your days were divided by what you could escape and how fast you could return to comfort, when your strength was limited to moments, not anchored in identity. But now, you have become something else. Someone else. You have become aware. You now see your patterns with clarity. You know when your triggers appear. You recognize the moments of danger, not with panic, but with power. You are not afraid of temptation now. You understand it. You have walked through it. You have come out the other side carrying fire in your hands without letting it burn you. That is not something small. That is initiation. You have stepped into the sacred art of self-mastery, where each day was a lesson in stillness, in resilience, in divine awareness. Reflect on your mind, how much quieter it has become. There were days when your thoughts raced, always moving from impulse to distraction. Now they hold. Now they rest. You can sit with them, shape them, hear what they're truly saying without letting them control your breath. Reflect on your body, how it feels to carry energy that isn't scattered, to wake up with strength instead of guilt, to feel a silent pride in the discipline that sits in your bones now. You've become familiar with yourself again, and this time, you didn't find yourself in pleasure. You found yourself in presence. Reflect on your spirit, how near you feel to God now, how sacred your solitude has become, how holy your breath feels when you speak with truth. You were never created to live enslaved to the body. You were created to lead it. In this month, you've proven to heaven and to yourself that you are willing to do the work that most avoid. not for fame, not for praise, but because something in you remembered that you were chosen for more. You must carry this reflection like a map, because life will not slow down to remind you of how far you've come. It will tempt you to forget. It will try to convince you that nothing has changed. But your reflection is your weapon. It is your memory of victory. And when the next wave comes, it will be your evidence that you can overcome again. Let this month be marked in your soul, not by perfection, but by progress made in the presence of fire. You were tested, you were tempted, but you chose discipline, and now you are no longer guessing your worth. You are living it.